Hello and welcome to a special episode of Science Sense, the show that helps explain your world through science. We are at the Stafford campus of HCC today, and we are here to speak with an eminent scientist in the field of genetics and cancer research, Dr. Sen Pathak. And it was my distinct honor to have him here with us today. Dr. Pathak, thank you so much for being here today. Dr. Pathak has a doctorate in cytogenetics from Banderas Hindu University and has been associated with MD Anderson Cancer Research Center for almost 30 years. He is a leading authority on cancer research and genetics, and it is our pleasure to have him here with us today on Science Sense. Dr. Pathak, just a little background on yourself. All of your degrees, both undergraduate as well as graduate, were actually earned in India, your native India.
Right.
And that is actually where your career began. But there is an interesting story about finding something at the foot of the Himalayas that might have changed your life and the lives of many others. Can you talk about that a little bit?
Yes, I am a zoologist. I have worked on animals throughout my life. And before I tell you, I just want to mention that I come from a small village in India. It is in the suburb of Varanasi. So I was very lucky to come to Banaras Hindu University, where I joined BS class. Then I passed BS, went to MS class, passed MS class. I was very lucky that I got the gold medal over there, which was unexpected. But something came up. And during my research, I work on the chromosomes of bats that mammal hangs upside down. So after finishing my PhD, my professor wanted me to do more work because in India, generally, after PhD, people stop doing work. They think I have attained the highest degree on earth, so I don't have to do any more research. But my professor's policy was that when you earn PhD, that is the time you actually get ready to start your actual research. So I followed my professor faithfully. And after obtaining my PhD, he asked me to go to different places in India and collect animals and look at their chromosomes. And during that period, I went to base of Himalayas where I caught this mouse, where I found out that these mice have only 22 chromosomes. Till then, all over the world, people knew that mouse has 40 chromosomes. So this report was published in 1969, and Professor T.C. Shu in MD Anderson Cancer Center saw that report, and I believe that he discovered me through that report. Mm-hmm. He was very happy to see. So I came to work in Baylor College of Medicine as a Welch Foundation Fellow. And then Dr. Shu called me and he said, if you want to stay in America a little longer, you can come and work in his laboratory. That was a news which I never thought in my mind. That night I could not sleep even, because I wanted to work in Dr. Shu's lab, because his lab was being considered as Mecca of mammalian cytogenetics. Everybody on earth wanted to work in his laboratory. And here, the grandfather of mammalian cytogenetics is asking me to come to work in his laboratory. So I was very lucky. I crossed the street from Baylor, came to MD Anderson. And I joined him in May 10th, 1972. May 10th, 1972. Since then, I am in MD Anderson. So it's more than 42 years, I believe.
Wow.
And Dr. Shu told me, before he retired, they gave me his position to me. And he told me that this was the greatest contribution of his life, that he put Sen Pathak in MD Anderson Cancer Center.
Wow, that must have been quite a distinction for you.
The rest is the history.
But this is, but you mentioned something that you discovered the mice, and through that, Dr. Shu discovered you. And
that's correct.
How wonderful for you to not only work with someone that you honored so much and you respected, but now that you have continued into his footsteps and taken indeed over the reins of his field.
Exactly. I was very blessed. I want to tell you that I got the opportunity to work not only under Dr. Shu, but work in the cancer hospital that is considered second to none in the world.
Yes. And of course, MD Anderson Cancer Research Center is world-renowned for cancer research as well as for treatments. But my question is that we know very much about how cancer can be correlated to certain lifestyle factors and can be tested. And so we have a lot of information on different modes of diagnoses of cancer and how genetics can actually be a precursor to diagnoses. But what is making headlines in terms of how cancer is actually being treated through genetics?
Well, there are several modalities of cancer treatment. The most important one that everybody knows is surgery. Then you have chemotherapy, where you give chemical treatment to the cancer cells, and then radiotherapy. These are the three most common ones. But now new therapies have been added. We call it gene therapy, we call it cell therapy. There are different types of therapy are now. In MD Anderson, we are trying to treat cancer patient as a holistic treatment. With radiation, chemo, you are actually treating the symptom, okay, not the system. If I develop cancer and I have been given chemotherapy, radiation therapy, surgery, everything, but in my mind I'm still thinking that maybe my cancer will come back, something will happen. So I'm not completely treated. So MD Anderson has started pranayam and yoga also for our cancer patient. This is the first hospital in the nation that has started this complementary treatment of cancer patient. And we in MD Anderson are very lucky that Dr. Lorenzo Cohen, who is the director over there, he received $4.6 million from National Cancer Institute to see the effect of pranayam and yoga on cancer patient. And this initiation was done because MD Anderson is now affiliated with an institute in India called Vyasas, Swami Vivekanand Anusandhan Samsthan, located in Bangalore. So their trained people are here in MD Anderson. They are training our cancer patients. So those cancer patients who are taking chemotherapy, at the same time they are able to do pranayam and yoga. They are able to tolerate side effect of these medicines much better than the group that is only taking medicine and not doing pranayam and yoga. So as a matter of fact, whether you are a healthy person or you are unfortunately you have developed cancer, in both cases pranayam and yogas are helpful.
Wonderful. In fact, we were going to touch on that because we've come a long way from just bone marrow transplants where they were, of course, helping in a lot of blood cancers, and finding a donor match, particularly because it does have to be a genetic match, and that usually comes in the form of a familial match or familial donor. We've come a long way since then because we are doing stem cell therapy and other kinds of genetic therapy, but this particular therapy using meditation and yoga, it's very novel, as you mentioned, and you do have some grant funding in order to test the efficacy of that. What have you found in terms of not just quality of life or the tolerance of side effects of traditional treatments, but have you found any sort of genetic changes to patients that undergo this sort of therapy?
Well, yes. We have, if I understood your question very clearly, because of pranayam and yoga, in our system, we are seeing something what I call as cell selection in vivo. Vivo means inside the body. When you grow the cells in culture, we call it vitro. So cell selection in vitro, that is in test tube. And when I say cell selection in vivo, it means inside the body.
Meaning alive. Vivo.
Yeah, in the live system. So there are individuals who could have more than one type of cells in their body. Normal cells also, defective cells also. We all have precancerous cells in our body. So we have normal cells, or we have precancerous cells also in our body. So if precancerous cells somehow or the other get selected in our body, so they can bring cancer in the system. So how to get rid of that? So if you give enough oxygen by doing pranayam, because cancer cells do not like oxygen. They like CO2. Yes. So when we grow cancer cells, sometimes we pump CO2 in the bottle. They grow much better. Normal cells in our body, they like more oxygen. They don't like CO2. So if you do pranayam and yoga nicely, and you pump enough oxygen in your system, pre-cancerous cells, I mean cancerous cells, will be wiped out from there. And normal cell will grow much better.
So a lot of lifestyle, of course.
Lifestyle
behaviors can, of course, affect our health in more ways than one, including our cancer risk. And just to wrap up in our last couple of minutes, I wanted to get your opinion on genetic testing in the prediction of future cancer risk. For example, the BRCA1 and 2 genes for breast cancer. What ethical implications do you think this may have for those who are undergoing these and maybe getting not so good news?
Yeah, the BRCA1 and 2, I'm very familiar with that. This is a mutation, and it is not very common mutation. It's a very rare mutation. So majority of people will not be actually benefited with that unless it is running in the family. We also know that where BRCA is mutated, it is not only breast cancer, people also develop ovarian cancer. But it is a very rare type of thing. But in future, people are trying to develop for a general public. I can make a statement right now that in future, we have to protect actually our telomere. If we protect our telomere, we can protect our cells, we can protect our chromosomes. And in my work, what I have seen so far is only those chromosomes undergo rearrangement that have lost the telomeric DNA. So we have to protect the telomeric DNA actually, so that the chromosome will not be vulnerable to breakage.
So do you recommend that, or do you find that there are more people that are undergoing genetic testing today?
Yes, there are people undergoing genetic changes, but testing only those people where cancer is running in the family. You see, there are two types of cancer we know for sure. The more than 90% cancers is actually sporadic. Sporadic means nobody in the family has, nobody in the relationship has, but because of our lifestyle, because of our exposure, we develop cancer. But less than 5% cancer is familial. We use the word familial. It runs in the family. But in those families where cancer is familial, one can see one more thing. And what that more thing is, abnormal children born in that family. Invariably, some defective children are born.
So we have some familial as well as some sporadic types of cancers.
Exactly.
And genetic testing can help in the early detection, but only if it's a genetic line that has already been predicted.
Exactly. But even in the case of familial sporadic cancer, suppose I'm working in a factory and I'm being exposed to chemical over there continuously. Okay? So because of that exposure, my system is receiving that. 20 years later, 30 years later, suppose I work in a factory, chemical factory, and I inhale all that things. 20 years later, I came out, and both you and I, we were working there. We were both healthy, same age, everything. But it turns out that I developed cancer after retirement. You did not. So why? Because maybe my repair system was defective, your repair system was more efficient. Maybe your lifestyle was much more healthier than my lifestyle, what I was eating, what you were eating. There was a difference. So even in the case of sporadic cases, after a particular age, people should undergo annual physical examination. Their genetics should be tested. Their chromosomes should be looked into, their gene should be looked into if there is any mutation going on, and this is going to come under personalized treatment. So MD Anderson is building a big building actually for the personalized treatment, customized treatment will be given. The idea is that every individual is unique in this world. We knew that. Every individual is unique. Even monozygotic twins coming from the same zygote, one could be a marathon runner and one could be sitting on wheelchair with muscular dystrophy. These are two individuals, two different souls. These are two different souls. So they should be treated very differently. So their genotype has to be analyzed, their genes have to be sequenced, everything, and see what defect they have, difference they have, not defect, what difference they have, and accordingly the treatment will be given.
And so in short, then we can basically say that there are some factors that are in our control, lifestyle changes and modifications that we can make to make ourselves healthier and And also there are other factors genetically and familially that, of course, are not within our control. So while we have at least great scientists like yourself paving the way and finding new cures, at least regardless of what side of the coin we find ourselves on, we know that hopefully sometime in the future, as MD Anderson likes to say, we will wipe out cancer and cancer will be history.
We are very hopeful and we are working towards that goal. That is the aim. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
I'm Dr. Jasleen Mishra. I am from Houston Community College, Southwest, and from the Life Sciences Department. Today we have with us the eminent scientist from MD Anderson Cancer Center, Dr. Sen Pathak. Dr. Sen Pathak, thank you very much for coming and enlightening us with your talk, which you are going to give immediately after the interview. So I just want to ask, we all talk about cancer, but really, what is cancer?
Cancer is actually a group of genetic diseases of old age. Also, cancer is a group of diseases of cell division. Cancer cells do not follow the rules and regulations of a normal cell that follows in our body. Normal cells in our body are programmed to perform their function and then die.
That's right.
Cancer cells program themselves to survive.
Mm-hmm.
This is the fundamental difference between cancer cells and normal cells.
Do you think we can, in our life, prevent cancer?
Yes, there is a tremendous emphasis on cancer prevention going on. It started little late, but we just cannot concentrate only on prevention. We have to treat patient also. So there will be a time, I'm firm believer that we will be able to prevent cancer if we start leading a normal life. Normal means not abusing our genetics.
By abuse, could you please a little bit elaborate what
Exactly,
does that mean?
because every cancer that we know today is caused by defect in their genetic system. Either there is chromosome damage, chromosomal rearrangement, or gene mutation. And how these mutations takes place, how this genetic system is changed, we can classify those agents into three major groups. There is a technical word we use, clastogen. Anything that breaks the chromosome is called clastogen. So clastogen can be divided into three groups. The first group is called chemical clastogen. Either we inhale from outside or we secrete in our body abnormal amount of chemicals that can break your chromosome. So chemical clastogens, this is one large group. Second is physical agent like X-ray, radiation, they can break our chromosomes, exposure to radiation. And the third one, the most important one and most neglected one, we call living clastogen. All bacteria, nematode, viruses, they are responsible to break the chromosomes also. And there is a tremendous amount of literature available that if I'm infected with bacteria, nematode or something, they break my chromosomes. So this is one of the reasons in developing countries where their hygiene is not in good shape. Yes. People develop disease, all kinds of disease. Yes. So these are the three fundamental group of clastogens, agents that break our chromosome. So as long as we can protect our genetic system, we can get rid of cancer cells from our system. Yes.
So it is, this we always observe that, small kids are also getting, and question arises, is it old age disease
Yes.
or it is a disease, it can happen anytime?
No. When I make the statement that cancer is a disease of old age, I do not mean the biological age of the individual.
Yeah.
I'm talking about the age of the cell that is present in the body. We have seen in many human syndromes, for example, Down syndrome. In Down syndrome, you know there is one extra chromosome. So the total amount of telomeric DNA should be more in that compared to a normal child of the same age and gender. But actually, Down syndrome children have much less telomeric DNA. All right? So they have much less telomeric DNA. It means their cell could be 70, 80 years old, but their body is only 5 years old. So they have genetic instability in the system. And because of that, there is a structural rearrangement, and quite often these Down syndrome children, they develop leukemia, they develop heart defect, and any syndrome in human syndrome that is described, they are prone to develop some kind of cancer.
So, is there any way we can, detect early cancer? Like, I know we were discussing,
Yes.
and you talked about some telomeres.
Yes, now techniques have developed that we can take blood and we can look at the genetic system of the blood. In many cases, not in all cases, this is still a research project. In many cases, we can take the blood and we can look at the chromosomes or their genotype, and we can predict that this individual could be predisposed for this type of cancer. So we can suggest them change the lifestyle and this and that. And this actually I have done in many cases at MD Anderson Cancer Center. By looking their chromosome, I will give you example of one particular case. One professor, his father died with colon cancer, and he knew about my work the way I am doing. He said he does not want to know that he is predisposed for any kind of cancer. I said, fine. But unfortunately, his son, who was in high school, he developed lymphoma. And then he came to me and he said, Sen, can you take my blood and tell me what kind of problem I may have? I looked into his blood and I found out that in a small percentage of cells, 2 to 3% of cells of his lymphocytes, he was having aberration in chromosome number 5. And that 5 chromosome abnormality is responsible for APC gene. We know that. Yeah. And he, in my opinion, he was prone for colon cancer. So he went to get colonoscopy done, and what they found out that he was developing adenomatous polyp in his colon. And they cut it, removed it, and he's free. And they have told him that cut down your red meat eating, eat more fibrous food, more fruits, and those kind of things. So change the lifestyle. So now it has become possible in many cases.
Yeah, that's what, the colonoscopy every 3 to 4 years, if they find polyps.
That's right. Same thing is for self-breast examination. After certain age, you self-examine your organ and see if there is any hardening coming up. Then you go to expert and do mammogram and those kind of things. Yes.
I was talking to the students and they were very much interested. They said, is it in MD Anderson, is it possible to get the telomeres checked to predict?
There are 3 laboratories already working on that. One is in Houston. If somebody is interested, not in MD Anderson, we can do the telomere without any problem because we have developed the technique, but not this kind of that we can make suggestion. But there is a private lab in Houston that is measuring the telomere. Also a lab in California headed by Nobel laureate Elizabeth Blackburn. And there is a lab in Spain also headed by Maria Blasco. There they measure the telomere and of a normal person, and then they can tell if the person has less telomeric DNA according to their age. Then they can suggest that you are going down the hill, make sure that you change your lifestyle. So it is possible.
So just changing the lifestyle will make the difference?
Yes,
even though
it will.
It is genetic?
No, it may not be present in each and every cell of your body.
Okay.
It may not be present in each and every cell of your body. For example, let me give you an example. There are children who are born with deletion in chromosome number 13. 13q14 region, and they develop retinoblastoma, cancer in the eye. All right?
Okay.
Now, that deletion is present in each and every cell of their body. But the cancer develops only in the eye because that gene is needed in the eye. It is not needed in any other organ. That's why other organs don't worry about that. You remember, we start our life from a single cell.
Yep.
Every cell in our body, irrespective of which organ it is coming from, they all have 46 chromosomes, except the gonads, of course, where there is reduction division and you have gametes formed over there. Yeah. So if you don't talk about ovary and testis, all somatic cells, they all have 46 chromosomes in every cell, but there is division of labor. Lung function as lung, kidney as kidney, liver as liver. It means only specific genes are active in those bodies. So there are two types of gene in the body. One are housekeeping gene. They are active in all organs. And the other one is very specific type. They make only kidney, they make only brain, they make only skin, they make only this.
So anywhere it can just develop when the circumstances means, if they are not getting enough oxygen.
That's right, yes.
Yeah, because that oxygen is one of the most important.
You are so right, because the way we breathe, we take breath,
very small.
The oxygen is very small amount that is going to our system, and we know that cancer cells do not like oxygen. They love to grow in CO2 atmosphere. So when we grow cancer cells in our laboratory, we pump CO2 in the bottle. They grow. If you pump oxygen over there, they will die. And some cancer patients are actually given as a therapy for if you pump too much oxygen over there, their cancer will die. Okay? So when you take proper oxygen in your system, do pranayama and yoga, learn the technique of breathing, you pump more oxygen in your system. So what that oxygen does, when more oxygen is gone inside the body, then pre-cancerous cells will die. They don't like that. And normal cells, normal stem cells that are dormant in many organs in your body, they will start activating and they will start dividing cells. So they will repair your system much better. So the idea is that our breathing should be deep and number of breaths per minute should be reduced. Like turtle breathes only 5 times in 1 minute, and turtle can survive 300, 400 years. Okay? So we, normal human being at this time, we are breathing, let's say, 15 times or 20 times per minute. But we have to bring it down, actually. And how we can bring it down? By doing pranayama. We have to give deep breathing so that we can take more oxygen, and number of breaths per minute should be drastically reduced. Then we can extend our life, actually. Just like turtle.
What about the program MT Anderson? We know that they are extending, this cancer cure and cancer B, the history. Yes. All over the world, and you are involved. So could you please tell a little bit about that?
As you know, the everything that is prepared, the mission of MD Anderson is to make cancer history. Everywhere it is written to make cancer history. Not only that, if you look at the cancer word, it is cut with red ink. Okay? The meaning of that is that cancer has to be wiped out from the surface of this earth. So cancer has geographical distribution. The cancer that is more prevalent in one country may not be prevalent in other country. I give you example. Like in India, North India, they have very high rate of gallbladder cancer. Yes. Very high rate. You go to South India, they don't have gallbladder at all over there. The only other country in the whole world other than India, North India, where gallbladder cancer is very high, very common, is Chile. And women have much higher percentage of gallbladder cancer than men have. Also, they found out that kidney, this stone that is present in the body, stone has some relationship with the formation of gallbladder cancer. So research is needed, it is going on. So if MD Anderson wants to fulfill its mission to make cancer history, it has to go to other countries also and study what kind of cancer they have, help people over there so that they can get rid of the cancer. And because of that, MD Anderson has started global oncology program. Today, there are 28 countries that are affiliated with MD Anderson, and India is not far behind. India has 3 institutions that are now affiliated with MD Anderson: Tata Cancer Center in Mumbai, Delhi State Cancer Institute in New Delhi, and also S. Vyasas in Bangalore. S. Vyasas people are teaching MD Anderson patient how to do pranayam and yoga.
Thank you so much, Dr. Sen Pathak.
You are most welcome.